It's time to raise the roof for an emergency podcast. I guess we're going to call this one. We did just release our newest podcast. If you guys haven't heard that one, listen to it yet. It is out anywhere that you guys can find us. We're out everywhere. But unfortunately, we have to do this because of news that came out regarding Rays starting pitcher Tyler Glasnow. We are going to be talking a lot about what happened with him, the recent press conference that he just had, among other things. Right now, it is me, Alex, Bree, and Evan. First off, how y'all doing? I'm guessing probably not ideal right now.
I mean, yeah, that does kind of stink, but I mean, we won the game. I think I'm kind of in the rearview mirror just because of how large this injury could play. But it could have been worse. He could have. I'm glad he told the coaching staff when he was feeling it kind of being uncomfortable, because if he goes out there, you never know. If he goes out there for another inning, there could have been a complete tear. Then he's out for a year and a half to 2 years because of Tommy John surgery. So it kind of seems like it's a similar thing to what Nick Anderson had at the beginning of the season. So I'm assuming he's going to be out until probably September or October, or maybe not even until the playoffs, if we make the playoffs. But I'm glad we have a good farm system. We have a lot of good replacements that we'll be able to bring up. Patino, probably one of them. McKay's still injured, correct? And Honeywell could probably he could come up and take Glasnow's spot. None of them are Tyler Glasnow, but they're still good pitchers who can go out and get wins. So,
yeah, Bree, how are you feeling about it?
Well, I was kind of feeling the same way as Evan until I watched this press conference, and now I am absolutely livid. This was 100% preventable, and I'm very, very upset, which we'll get into later. But
all right. Well, let's start out with, I guess, let's start out with some good news. The good news being, so before going into yesterday's game, the series opener against the White Sox, the Rays activated Ji-Man Choi from the IL, optioned Mike Brasso down to Durham, which lasted a day. But the good news is that G-Man's back. He was in the lineup last night, so that is a very positive sign for this team moving forward, considering the amount of injuries that they've accrued over the course of the year. I'm sure both of you would agree with me on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to have G-Man back in the lineup. And, I mean, Brasso, it stinks, but it had to be done. I mean, he doesn't get consistent enough bats to get his confidence back up. I mean, he was batting sub 200, and if he played every day, then if he's kind of like Lau, who plays every day and can get back on track easier, then I don't agree sending him down. But he doesn't play every day. He doesn't get enough at-bats to get that confidence back up. So I like him going down, playing in Durham, get that confidence up, and hopefully he can come back. Well, I guess he is back now, but hopefully he'll be better than he was at the start of the year.
Mm-hmm. Bree, how did you feel about that news? I'm guessing positive news.
Well, I mean, I was sad that Brass had to go because he's been on the team for a while now without being in Durham. But, at the same time, it was kind of the only move to be made. I mean, there was an argument for Fleming as well. But, yeah, I mean, it was the right move. And Choi had a great first game back, honestly. He was making great plays. I don't remember what he did at the plate, but I'm sure it was fine. So.
Yeah. So quickly, let's talk about last night's game. The Rays end up winning. I don't even know. I've already forgotten the final. I was going to say, I thought it was something like that. Things got a little bit dicey on the mound when Glass was on the mound in I think it was either the third or fourth inning. The White Sox ended up plating 2 runs, but the Rays were able to string some runs together later in the game in order to win. Randy had a home run. Meadows hit a 2-run bomb. Lau had a home run. Brett had an RBI single, I believe, or scored a run on a play, something like that. He can help contribute to the 5th run scored in that game. Glass ended up only going 4 innings and then was taken out, which we've now found out was now found out as an injury. But just quick notes on yesterday's game. How did you two feel about how the game played out?
You got it, Bree.
Yeah, I am really impressed with the bullpen once again. They were probably not expecting to come in that early, especially when Glasnow's on the mound. I think he came out with 53 pitches. They came in and just really did an outstanding job that's kind of old news at this point. It's what they always do. Offense, excited to see Randy. I believe that's his second consecutive game with a home run. So if he gets hot, we're dangerous. Plus, did Meadows and Lau both home? No,
Yeah.
only one of them. They both
No,
did?
yeah. Meadows homered in the first inning, and then Lau homered in like the second or third inning.
And then Randy homered too, right?
Yeah, Randy homered in like the seventh or eighth inning, one of the two.
Okay, so if those three guys get hot all at once, I don't care who's pitching for us. We're not going to lose games. So
that is very important. I'm kind of the same way as you two. Obviously, it was weird because Glass came out and we didn't really know what the problem was until we ended up finding out that it was he had some problem with his throwing arm. But yeah, it was nice to see Lau hit another home run. He's been looking much better recently. I know he's still trying to pick himself up, but I mean, he's got 12 home runs so far this year, which is good. He just needs to not strike out as much and try to hit for contact more. Meadows is looking really, really good at the plate. Randy had the home run. I mean, overall, it was a good win. It was a good win.
Yeah, it was, and it looked like postseason Randy too. Like that was a home run that looked like it was from last postseason, in which he did like what 8 times 10 times 10 yeah. But yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't understand why that game wasn't on national television, because
that was strange that it wasn't.
The
Valley Sports,
I mean,
oh boy.
So the Cubs are in the midst of a 3-game stretch where every game of theirs is on ESPN, and you get the 2 best teams in the MLB record-wise, along with their two of the best 5 pitchers in the AL last night, Glasnow and Lynn, who are in the Cy Young race, and you don't nationally televise that. I mean, I get that they're both 2 small like market franchises, but like, I don't understand how. And then the same game is on twice in a row tonight and tomorrow. The Mets and the Cubs are on both nights, which makes 0 sense, first of all. And I don't know, that was a game last night that I feel like deserved to be on national television, and I think ESPN missed a chance there. But anyway, it was a good win for the Rays. It was kind of I think this is a series where we might prove a lot of people if we could win the series, because we haven't played anybody in a while. I think the last time we played like a team over 500 was the Yankees, and that was like 2 weeks ago, I think. So it was a good win last night. Glasnow looked good until obviously he got injured. He did not look like he was injured at all, but I'm glad he took himself out when he thought something was wrong. And the bullpen looked really good. The bullpen, JP looked really good last night. All of them did. Ryan Thompson, Diego, and Pete did their job, and good win all around.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna, I don't know what the hell is going on with Valley Sports this season,
yeah,
but
it's
been next to atrocious, and I don't know how in an off season you can switch. Like they didn't even like it's still Fox Sports, it's still the same thing, but somehow in an off season you change everything to the point of like every game now there seems to be some sort of technical issues, technical difficulties. Like they need to get their shit together, because it is
3
not
times
looking
last
good.
night. It was so annoying.
Yeah, it's not looking good, which is not a good thing. But we're just kind of delaying things until we actually talk about what the main thing of why we're having this emergency podcast is. That unfortunately Tyler Glasnow, who we've already mentioned previously, an MRI revealed after the game that he has a partially torn ulnar collateral ligament, so UCL, and he also has a flexor tendon strain. Basically, that means that he's going to be out for a long period of time. Obviously, if it was a complete UCL tear, he would need Tommy John surgery in order to repair it. Right now, it's just a partial tear, so he's probably going to be out for a significant period of time. And yeah, it kind of all hit us at the same exact time when it came out. And we're all bummed. I think that's the best way to put it, is we're all bummed by it. So for all three of us, when we first saw it, how did everyone feel about it? Was it something that we were expecting? Was it worse than what we were expecting? What's the consensus feeling about everyone here?
I mean, you never want to see UCL in a injury report, first of all. So that was off to a bad start once I read that tweet by Mark Topkin. But I mean, but by last night's kind of diagnosis and what they said, it was like a right elbow inflammation. I feel like that's pretty, like a 10-day DL that missed 2 starts and you're back. So I was like, it might not be anything serious. At first I thought it was like a right forearm strain, what he had in 2019, which he missed almost half, or like, I think he missed half the season, which I was like, oh shoot, if that happens again, that's going to really suck for this rotation. But it could have been worse. It could have been a full tear. And I'm glad that he doesn't need surgery and that he can be back sometime this season. He's probably wouldn't come back until maybe late September, early October, or maybe they just push him back to the playoffs, like I said before, if we make the playoffs. So,
Bree, what were your initial thoughts when you saw that tweet?
Well, when I saw his interview, he mentioned that it was a tug, and I asked somebody I knew that was a pitcher. He was like, a tug and elbow inflammation is probably a partial tear. I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? And, it's this. So, yeah, I mean, it's just really tough because partial tears, a lot of times what happens is they'll do what he's doing and try and rehab it back instead of getting the surgery. But there is a non-zero chance that the rehab won't work and he'll need the surgery anyways. And at that point, it'll be like months down the road. So his actual return is pushed back even later, which I really, really hope doesn't happen. He said he's visiting another surgeon in Arlington, Texas, to kind of get a better handle on what he should do, kind of like a second opinion type thing. But yeah, I mean, it's not great. I'm hopeful that he can be back for the playoffs. Yeah, it just sucks a lot. So.
Yeah, when I saw it, I just kind of was like, oh, okay. It's something like that had happened, like everyone was talking about, something like that had happened in 2019. So I was like, well, I mean, we got a month more out of him than we did in 2019. So I guess that's a positive if we're thinking about it that way. And obviously he missed the majority of the season in 2019 after that happened. So I was trying to take the positives out of the situation, but also realizing that this absolutely sucks and he's the ace of our rotation. And, like the Rays are a much better team with him on the mound than without him on the mound. Obviously, they have a lot of arms in the minors and they have a lot of arms in the rotation right now that can definitely help fill the void. But it's not the same thing as having him on the mound every day. I mean, now they're going to have to resort to, relying a lot more on Rich Hill and relying a lot more on Shane McClanahan, which is McClanahan's more concerning than Hill just because of the fact that McClanahan's, this is basically his rookie season. So that's, things like that, relying on guys more like Fleming. You're probably going to have to bring Bertinho up. Yarbrough's going to have to step up. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are going to be taking roles in this rotation now that are going to have to step up in big ways. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I'm hoping and I'm hopeful that they will, but that doesn't mean that they're actually going to. That's kind of the big thing right now is we just need to see what happens. And they're more than capable of it. It's just whether they will or will not do it is the question right now. So that's kind of the big thing. And then after that, oh wait, sorry.
They're more than capable of doing that too. Like I trust Patino or whoever comes in to fill that spot. And I'm not worried. Like that's why having a farm system like this and having as many arms as we do is helpful because if someone goes down, it's always the next man up mentality. So I trust the players in Durham, the pitchers to replace him. He's not. I mean, there are no Tyler Glasnows. There are no Tyler Glasnows, but I think that they will suffice.
Yeah. So I'm so mad, but I definitely don't think this is like some people are saying, oh, it's the end of the Rays season. It's not even close. I think we're still going to be a competitive team. I still think we have a very good shot at being a first place team. And like you said, we do have all those arms in Durham. I will say, I think it is a great time for Neander and the crew to start looking at some starting pitchers that might be on the market. Not because we don't have the in-house reinforcements to cover Glasnow, because we do, but you have to think, Rich Hill, he's 41. There's injury risk there, and a lot of it. I mean, you hope it doesn't happen, and he's been great so far, but like you can't just not acknowledge that it's there. And then on the other side of things, you have McClanahan, Fleming, and probably Patino. Those guys are so young. They still have a lot to figure out. So then you have Yarbrough in the middle, who's just kind of refigured out that he can be a starter. So what I'm thinking is go out, get somebody. It doesn't have to be like an ace or anything. Just somebody's a starting pitcher that has pitched in the majors for like more than half a season and stick them in the rotation. Just so we have a reliable guy that can get innings, you know? And I mean, I was looking at Barrios on the Twins. If the Twins are selling, that might be a good one we could afford. You say Kikuchi on the Mariners.
I'm a little bit more concerned about him just because of the fact that the Rays already have God knows how many lefties in the rotation right now.
Okay, yeah, but I don't think that's an issue, mostly because we have no lefties in the pen other than Springs.
That's
so
true.
You're giving people, you're mixing up looks still. Like, I don't think that's a big issue.
That's true.
And then who's the other one I had? Oh, Turnbull of the Tigers, I think would be a great one.
Okay.
He's the one that threw the no-hitter. I don't think he'd be super expensive. The Tigers are going to be selling. So.
What about Luis Castillo?
I mean, that's like, honestly, I don't care who it is, to be quite frank with you. I think they just need a literal human body that can pitch. And honestly, if they don't get anybody, I think they'll be fine still, because you can always, like, we have enough people that can pitch. Like, it's not like we're going to run out of pitchers. So we've got Archer coming back. We have everyone and their mother in AAA. Like, they'll be fine. But having a reliable innings eater is going to help.
I would really like Barrios.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think he's a stud.
I mean, his price is probably too high. I don't know if you mentioned this, Bree, but John Means too. His price tag is probably too high.
They're not going to give him up because they need a guy to build around. I know that they have that was it Grayson Rodriguez down in the minors right now? So that might mean that they could get rid of him with the fact of them having Rodriguez, but I think that they want to have at least 2 or 3 good arms in the rotation. And Means is the guy right now who is and I think he just went on the IL, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there are so many pitchers on the IL right now. It is absolutely insane.
I mean, there's going to be more once they start enforcing the bans.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about that part of it? Since I mean, do we want to spend a little bit more time to talk?
I'm gonna get heated.
Do we want to spend a little bit more time to talk about trade targets for a second? If they want to trade anyone? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say one more thing about that, the injury, because I think that's why the Rays are so good though, because it doesn't really matter. Like Glasnow is probably the worst case scenario to get injured.
Yeah.
But I mean, name one player on the Rays other than Glasnow that like would kind of detriment that, like would kind of make this team not good anymore. Like this team plays so well together that it doesn't really matter who gets injured. I obviously hope no one gets injured at all, but
don't jinx it. I swear to God, we don't need any other injuries.
I mean, no kidding.
I mean, he's right.
But this team plays so well together. Obviously, by the looks of the All-Star voting, there's no superstar on this team. Like a Rosarena will be a superstar, but he's not a superstar yet. Like he's a rookie, and even Meadows is really good this year, and he's like still not very high on the All-Star voting. Yes, that might be because we're a small market team, but I think that's why, because we don't have any stars on our team. So yeah, that's about it.
The Rays model is that the sum is greater than each individual part. And I mean, that's what we're seeing. They, like he said, they play well together. And I mean, we honestly have reinforcements for every single position, whether that be just because we have guys that play multiple positions, like a Joey Wendell, like a Mike Brasso, like a Brandon Lau, or because we have reinforcements in Durham. So we have reinforcements at both levels for basically every position. I mean, the toughest one is catcher. But other than that, like, yeah, Glasnow was the worst case scenario for this team, and they still have the resources to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have the resources to go out and get somebody if that's what they choose to do. So,
and I mean, on the bright side, Glasnow only does play 1 every 5 games, so that's also another
an excellent point.
Another good thing. It's not like he's a losing. I'm gonna go retract what I said earlier. I would say losing Nick Anderson would be the worst case scenario, which obviously we haven't had him for the whole year, because he's a dominant pitcher who pitches probably, I would say, 5 times a week. If we have a full 7-game schedule that week, I would say he probably pitches 5 times that week. And that hurts the team a lot more than a starting pitcher being out for a whole year because they only pitch. I mean, how many games do they pitch? Like 25? About
30, maybe.
30?
Yeah.
30 to 35, depending.
Yeah. So
but
that's I guess the silver lining of this whole thing is that he doesn't play every day.
And he's still going to be there. Hopefully he'll still be on the rotation as things are going on. He'll keep the spirits up. But that leads
just another quick thing is that's another reason why bringing Archer in is so huge. Even though he hasn't pitched, Archer and Glasnow's friends with Honeywell too. Those 2 guys have been through hell and back as far as injuries. And he's really close with them. And I have no doubt in my mind that Archer and Honeywell are both gonna, be there to kind of help him out through this. Because I mean, you guys saw how pissed Glass is. He's not having a good time right now.
Yeah.
That's where Archer and Honey, they're really gonna need to help him out, and they can do that.
So. That is the truth. That is the truth. Well, that leads us into talking about the other part of this, which is so Bree already mentioned at the press conference that happened today with Glasnow, and the comments that he made regarding the new policy that Major League Baseball is instituting in regards to pitchers using substances on baseballs. Obviously, this is something that's been widely done by pitchers across the league. Glasnow admitted that he used it, so he wasn't shy about it. About that, he admitted that he blatantly used it.
Sunscreen and rosin.
Yeah, he never said
spider tack.
He never said pine tar. He just said sunscreen and rosin.
Yeah, just sunscreen and rosin.
Is that illegal?
It is now, yes. They told them in this memo, they told them not to wear sunscreen they told them to be careful about how they use sunscreen, basically.
First of all, I feel like sunscreen and rosin would help the pitcher, and also the batter. It doesn't help you get more spin rate. It just controls the ball better.
Yeah.
And
there have been studies on that.
As a batter, I would be I would rather have him throw it right down the middle than at my face like that.
Yeah. And also, I mean, that's a kind of a common thing considering that every freaking pitcher in baseball has a rosin bag. And literally during the 2020 season, they made every individual pitcher have their own individual rosin bag. So, I mean, if we're talking about are they just not going to be able to use a rosin bag anymore?
How are you going to enforce? They have sunscreen on them. They're going to pick up the rosin bag. It could even be unintentional. They said they're getting checked periodically throughout the game. How are you going to sit there and say, I have sunscreen on my hands. I just accidentally touched my arm and I touched the rosin bag. How do you police that? That is
Are they going to just do night games from now on?
Absurd thing I've ever heard.
I mean, basically the reason why we're talking about this is because what Glasnow said was he stopped using it cold turkey. And as soon as he stopped doing that, he started feeling weird things in his arm. And I know a lot of people have been, on Twitter saying oh, that's garbage. Why is he complaining about that? But honestly, if, it's a very valid point to say that if you're using that to be able to control the baseball, to be able to grip the baseball, and then you can't use it anymore, then something's going to happen with your arm that you're never used to before, because you're used to being able to use those things in order to have the ability to control your pitches and not hit people.
Yep.
And that's kind of the big problem here. And it all boils down to, again, Major League Baseball and what they've prioritized, which is this crap over trying to market the game better or trying to like provide better stuff to minor league players, which apparently they were supposed to do according to, getting rid of 40 extra teams, but that hasn't happened yet because the priorities of this league aren't straight. It doesn't seem like they know what to do the right way. And I feel like this is going to be another example of it. And Glasnow is kind of the first big name to, the first big arm to fall.
And he's not going to be the last either, which is the sad thing.
They should have done this. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it. Go ahead.
You got it.
Well, I was just going to say, in the first half of his press conference, he was explaining. It was before the national start. He wasn't going to use the sunscreen rosin. He talked to doctors beforehand. He talked to pitching coaches and everything. He had to change his grips before that start because he just couldn't hold the ball because they're chalky. So before that start, he worked with Snyder. He said his changeup, he had to put the ball deeper in his hand, and he had to change his curveball grip as well. And so he said he's squeezing the ball really hard, whereas before he said Kyle Snyder's advice to him was hold it like an egg. He can't do that anymore because he has to literally squeeze it so that it doesn't slip. So he's squeezing. So all those muscles in your forearm are tight already, tighter than they have been. And now he's throwing it as hard as he can, 100 miles an hour. So, I mean, that's just ridiculous. And I wish that Major League Baseball, I'm not saying they didn't because maybe they did and I just don't know. But for some reason, I doubt that they consulted doctors and pitching coaches on this. And it was just kind of maybe this will work type thing. And Glasnow, another thing with him, he is a part of the players union. He is the player representative for the Rays. So any type of changes that Major League Baseball has been trying to implement, he has been the person for the Rays that has been in those meetings. And he said, we asked about the sunscreen and rosin in those meetings with 36 representatives, including like players and everything. Not a single person said there was an issue with sunscreen and rosin. It's the spider tack. It's those manufactured substances that are there specifically to give you 200 more RPM on your fastball or your curveball. That's not what sunscreen and rosin is. There are studies that have shown that. So why, just why? Like, why are you completely just in the middle of the season after they've been doing the same repeatable thing for Glasnow said 80 innings for him. And I don't know. It's completely absurd. And he's not going to be the last one to get hurt. Yeah. And I hope that the players get together and figure something out because it's just not right.
I just want to read something quickly. Wait, Evan, give me a second because Trevor Bauer, who's kind of, one of the faces of this problem here, tweeted something out in response to what Glasnow said, quote tweeting Trisha Whitaker, saying only one of the massive problems with what Major League Baseball is doing. They've knowingly swept this under the rug for 4 years. Now they implement a knee-jerk reaction to shifting public perception. Hard to hear them talk about competitive integrity when they have no integrity to begin with. And then he has 2 more tweets under this in a thread. To be clear, the memo is fine long-term, but it will serve to level the playing field. That is the good thing. But to implement it mid-season when for 3 months you've promised players and teams that nothing about your chosen enforcement of the rules would change this year and actively encourage players to continue playing how they have in the past. That's a lie. There's no integrity in that, so save it with the competitive integrity bullshit, Major League Baseball. All you care about is the bottom line of the business and public perception negatively affecting it.
And that's the thing. Do this in the off season where pitchers have like 3 or so months to prepare, and we're fine. We're not talking.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Why do this mid-season when they've been doing it for literally what he just said for 3 months? That's why there's going to be so many injuries. You can't you can't get used to another grip in a day off. It takes months. That's just muscle memory by then. To make a whole new muscle memory takes a long time.
And he also talked about umpires policing it because how the hell are they supposed to understand what a 60 substance is?
And the fact that, that's a good point too. Like, how do they, it's pretty obvious, but what substances are foreign, I guess, technically?
It's literally anything. The ball as itself, as it comes with the ball and the chalk that's on it that makes it slippery in the first place and shouldn't even be there. That's all you can have.
Other than the rosin.
And then, the rosin, that's it. But like if you're wearing sunscreen, you might not even want to pick up the rosin because God forbid it mixes a little bit and then they pull you.
So now Major League Baseball is going to contribute to more skin problems in baseball because guys aren't going to be able to wear sunscreen and then they're going to get sunburn on the field, and then possible problems like that are going to arise. That's a part of it that I don't think a lot of people are talking about because it's not really that important, I guess, if you want to consider it to this thing. But I mean, think about it that way. If guys aren't able to do that, then that could cause possible skin problems in the future.
I mean, someone like me who's very Irish goes out there
I'm
for
sunburnt right now.
3 hours in the daytime, and I mean, let's say
that could cause sun poisoning.
Like San Diego,
like that's a real thing.
Like me going out and skin cancer, like not obviously not then, but down the line that would 100% cause skin cancer for people like me. And let's say honestly anywhere in the summer, but I mean San Diego, you can't be outside for more than an hour if you have the skin tone like I do. So yeah,
I don't know. This is these guys' careers. It's their livelihoods. If Glasnow does, like worst case scenario, have to get Tommy John surgery, he's not just missing this season, he's missing next season. He's in his arbitration years before free agency. Like, and he's one of the best pitchers in baseball this season. That is millions taken away from him. Like, it just blows my mind.
And I know that
this careless.
And like obviously people complain about like how much baseball players make, but and like how much athletes make. But if you're doing a sport for as many years as athletes do, which really isn't that long compared to like what other people do with jobs, you got to make your money when you can. That's the most important thing is when you're in whatever field of work you're in, you make your money when you can so that you can have something to fall back on when you retire and you're no longer doing that job. And like Bree was just talking about, if Glasnow is unable to do his job because of something like this and he's unable to make money, then that could affect him down the road. Now, I don't think it will, but it's, it's something to think about.
Like it's not out of the realm of possibility. And a lot of these guys, they don't have college degrees. Like some of them, sure, but like most of them don't. Like they dedicated their lives to baseball. After baseball, like you better hope you made enough money or else you're going to have to try and be like a pitching coach at some like high school and hope you can make your money. Like, I don't know. It's just absurd. And I don't know. It's MLB continues to impress me with how stupid they are. Like, and the people saying, oh, he wants us to feel bad for him because he's been cheating. The spin rate of sunscreen and rosin, if you check the numbers, they're out there. Sunscreen rosin doesn't do anything. It's for grip. You could see during the game, Glasnow could not get a grip on the ball. He was rubbing the mud off. He was trying to get like sweat off of his arms. You could see visibly on the field how hard it was for him. It's not, and I think Steven Souza Jr. tweeted out, someone asked him, he's like, how many pitchers do you think are like feasibly using any kind of substance? Souza said at least 90%. So not that it's not cheating, but if everyone's doing that because Major League Baseball has neglected to enforce it for this long, and then they expect to change it overnight, like,
again, if the balls are this slippery, like,
change the balls.
Yeah, there's also a reason why people do this, because if you can't grip the ball, then you can't control that at all. And
there's going to be a lot of problems that are going to stem.
That's not a safe spot for the batter or the catcher or the umpire. Like, that ball could be going anywhere if it slips. So
yeah. Well, I want to wrap this thing up. So do you guys have any final thoughts about this?
Just go get that series win tonight.
Yeah. Manfred sucks. Major League Baseball is stupid. Hope Glasnow gets good news when he goes to Arlington. Go Rays.
That's the biggest thing.
Keep this going.
Well, that wraps up this episode. I'm going to try to get it out, obviously, before the game tonight. If you guys don't follow what we're doing at Raise the Roof, social media channels, Raise the Roof TV, website, raisetherooftv.com, YouTube, Raise the Roof. We'll make sure to put this up on here because I think this is definitely a good episode to put up on there. So, and then this podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, make sure to subscribe, share this with your friends, and leave us a review, all that good stuff. So from all of us, Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you guys in the latest episode of Raise Up.
Raise up.